Well, hi there, I'm Noah Bradley, and this is Handmade House TV. On today's episode, I have another free module of the Bootstrap Building Academy to share with you. Stay tuned. Well, okay, welcome back to Handmade House TV. Today I have another module that's within the Bootstrap Building Academy to share with you. An insight, a technique that you can use to dramatically lower the cost of your future handmade house. If you take all 20 of these modules together and you implement every one of them, you can achieve tremendous savings on that future home of yours. Well, Ari, welcome back to the Bootstrap Building Academy. On today's module, I wanted to share with you about saving money in the construction of your handmade house with regard to using used materials, salvage materials, second-hand materials, discount materials of all kinds. I do it all the time, and in fact, if you see behind me here is salvage materials that I'm going to use on my future home. It's a pile of stone, and I acquired it. It was originally part of a high school in Pennsylvania. It's a sandstone that was carefully crafted and shaped, and I hope to reuse it for foundation work as well as the chimneys on my future home. And I'm really looking forward to that. Stone is one of my favorite materials to gather for salvage use. In fact, for one thing, you can save a whole lot of money and you get higher quality than when you buy it at, say, a stone lot. And you have your choices just like any other material when it comes time to get salvage material. For one thing, you can gather it yourself. I could have gone into the woods and gathered the stone free for the taking. I could have driven up and down back roads in order to find it, stop and ask if I see an old foundation or an old stone barn that's falling apart and ask if I can get salvage rights to it. Also, where I got this was off of Craigslist. You can check on eBay, you can check in the newspaper. You can also put ads in the newspaper looking for materials. And so there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different sources to be shopping. And the more you shop, the more you look, the more you get out and you discover things, the more you will start seeing the potential come together, as well as what the true value of it. You'll learn what the difference between high quality stone and low quality stone, and what's a fair price for it, what's a good price to pay for it, and what's a steal that you absolutely can't turn down. And one of the reasons why I like to gather stone for salvage materials, one of the reasons why it's number one for me, is that it requires no manhandling whatsoever. It's basically scooped up on one end with heavy equipment, brought here with a dump truck, dumped out on my land, and so far a human being hasn't had to pick it up whatsoever. Also, I don't have to have any shelter for it. There's no roof needed over top of it. I'm not worried about insects or rot or rain or bad weather. This stone could set here for the next couple of centuries and still be plenty usable in the future when it comes time to do that. Other great salvage materials are obviously flooring and doors inside of a house. I don't recommend using salvage windows. Windows are critical elements of our home. They tend to rot a lot. It's the reason why they need replacement so much in homes only after a few years. And they're very prone to weather leaking and problems, and there's so much work and effort that goes into restoring vintage windows that normally I shy away from using old windows when I'm looking for it. Other sources for used material are places like Habitat for Humanity, where a lot of individuals will be updating their kitchens or their bathrooms or a total renovation on their home, and rather than throwing away some of these materials, they will donate it to Habitat for Humanity. So it's not a bad idea to stop by once a week and to carouse your local one or your local Goodwill store. It doesn't hurt to contact builders to find out what used materials they might have at a particular site. Also, one of the most expensive things that we use in our home are anything like appliances, as well as bathroom fixtures. So you can spend thousands of dollars on a really nice bathtub, but if you talk to the individuals at plumbing supply stores and appliance stores, there are many customers that will get a bathtub and find a chip in it, in a pretty unnoticeable area of it, or an appliance that didn't quite look right after they had it for a week or two, and they'll return it. You can get some fairly heavy discounts on appliances and plumbing fixtures at the store that you would normally get things. You might not get the exact one you're after, but nonetheless you'll find that you can get a pretty decent supply of it. Other ideas that like tile supply stores, frequently they have the odds and ends sales that are left over, and I have found that sometimes that the real challenge is often in getting enough tile in order to do your particular project. And it's kind of nice when you build your home, if the tile matches in the bathrooms and the kitchen, that you have a consistent pattern throughout. So it generally requires right much of it, but a lot of times you'll find that 2 or 3 different kinds of tiles blended together creates a much more interesting effect. A little bit of contrast really brings out the things and pops it to you. So don't reject tile just because there might not be enough of one to meet your needs. See whether or not there might be some blend that the store has to offer. And sometimes you can get a 50 to 75% off of retail cost by going that way. So make sure and consider the idea of using salvage materials. I have the greatest success story I can have is that I built the second home of mine entirely of salvage materials. I took down myself a barn, I took down a schoolhouse, and I took down a small cottage. And from that, I had enough material left over that I could build my entire home from it. And that was the whole entire secret why I brought in a home for $500. A lot of times when we are building a home, if the code, the building inspectors, the government officials who will be overseeing us and giving us the hardest amount of time, that they won't like us using salvage materials for structural purposes, for framing. But if we can get past the framing and use salvage materials, especially for all of the amenities that go attached to the framing, the floors and the siding and the mantelpieces and such as that, we can add so much to our home beauty-wise. We're helping the environment by recycling materials, but as we are saying in the Bootstrap Building Academy, we're saving ourselves a bunch of money, and that's what it's really about. So consider using salvaged materials. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. Look forward to seeing you in the next module. Until then, you take care of yourself. Bye now. Well, all right, I hope you got something out of this module of the Bootstrap Building Academy. If you want to know more about it, make sure and visit us over at handmadehouses.com. Next week, I've got another one for you. So stay tuned then. Bye now.